afternoon, 4 o'clock, I guess technically 3:57 Eastern Standard Time, late afternoon hours, January 17th. Happy 26th birthday to Thomas John Trosset, one of my younger brothers who is celebrating accordingly today in New York. And I just saw DeAndre Hopkins' Instagram story. He's in West Village. Should I DM him and try and get him to meet up with TJ and my family for a drink? Anyway, happy divisional round Saturday to all of you guys. The first of 4 games this weekend gets underway in about 30 minutes. And I figured, why not have a little bit of an up-to-date, if you will, as we follow the rumblings and some of the new updates from insiders and everyone alike that's been following the ongoing, not just coaching carousel in Baltimore and the hiring cycle process in Baltimore, but across the league. There are 8 vacancies. John Harbaugh just became the first official, because this obviously has been in the works for a while. The first official vacancy has been filled. So John will be officially heading to the New York Giants. He's signed a 5-year contract. He's the franchise's 21st head coach. He arrives, as we know, with 204 regular season and playoff wins. He's got a Super Bowl title. And it's been a long time since the Giants were relevant and legitimate contenders. And that's what Harbaugh, maybe Todd Monken, and a number of others are going to be tasked with in year 1 with Big Blue. I did find this to be interesting, just as it relates to maybe some of the push and pull that resulted in maybe a little bit of a delay in getting this across the finish line. Albert Breer's reporting that as part of the deal, John Harbaugh will be reporting directly to ownership. That's a departure from the norm for New York and a concession made to the new man in charge. So, again, Harbs is coming in with a level of cachet. I think universally within the Giants fan base, they have been irrelevant. It's been a heartbreaking decade plus for them, with a whole lot of turnover at the top, turnover at the quarterback position, and now they're going to do what they can to try and do what several first-year head coaches did with their respective organizations this past season, and a couple of them are still in the dance. Mike Vrabel, of course, for the New England Patriots, year 1 with them. Ben Johnson in Chicago, and although he was bounced in the wild card round, what Liam Cohen did in year 1 with the Jacksonville Jaguars was pretty damn impressive. So that's where we begin. Now we're going to get into some of the rumblings, some of the up-to-date insider info, if you will, that I've been tracking and gathering from a Ravens perspective as their coach search continues. This episode is brought to you by my friends at FanDuel. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group as well for the continued support of the program. If you could, on the way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. The guest lines are open. If you'd like to share a thought with me, it's a pinned comment right now in my live chat. First and foremost, count them, 13. That's what you can count. 13 different candidates now, according to the Ravens, and as confirmed by the Ravens this morning, have been interviewed, at least initially and virtually. Not all have been virtual. Certainly the Rams have been. And as we learned this morning, defensive coordinator Chris Shula and pass game coordinator Nate Schelhouse, both of whom are assistants under Sean McVay with the Rams, and they will coach this weekend. They are still in the dance. It'll be Rams and Bears tomorrow night, 6:30 on Peacock. Chance to see what their candidacies are all about, respectively. But they became number 12 and number 13, with more on the way, who have completed their first-round interviews, their initial part of the process with Baltimore. And as we kind of get to know these guys, because we haven't spent a ton of time on, I think just because they've been on the latter half of the process, if you will, they haven't been part of it, because there's rules and guidelines that are in place for potential candidates that are still part of staffs that are in the postseason. So this is just kind of the spirit of process of elimination. We haven't been ignoring them. It's just not been a part of the forefront of our discussion so far. Certainly if there continues to be buzz around their name leading into next week, and you hear rumblings about second interview requests and in-person type of opportunities, then we're going to ramp it up even more so than we already are. But get a look at Chris Shula grandson of course, the great Don Shula. Here he is as the Rams defensive coordinator, mic'd up and wired.
The big dog. What's up, babe? How you doing, man?
Great, how are you?
Good. Great day. Ready to go, big dog? Ready to go, man? Ready, man. Go. Ready to go. Feels like we're ready to go. Ready, man? Go. Ready to go, big fella? Same thing you've always done, baby. Yep. Hey, don't get to sure hit blocks and play hard. You know, there's gonna be some you're like, what the hell? You know? Hit blocks and play hard. If I could pick any two D-line coaches in the world, it would be these guys. Everyone follow you. Everyone's gonna be watching you guys. Be pointing you guys out and hitting blocks, running the ball. You guys always know. Hey, defense over here, Ernest. Go. Lock it out. Good, D-Will. Good. Don't emphasize the rip there, Kobe. Be a nerd. Emphasize the rip. Hit the block, baby. Good, Kobe. Great job, Q. Perfect. Great talk. Let's go see him out of the huddle. Communicate. Good job, Troy. And boom. Fly to the ball. Great communication. Kill blocks. Kill blocks. Go jog it over. Shot. Run to the ball. Good job. Run to the whistle. We go, baby. Nice job, Cam. It's a good break. Good there. Good job there, Cam. Curl. That's a great finish there, Cam. Good hands. Get off the block. There you go, Brennan. Oh. Oh. Good job. Good. I see it. There you go. Break. Good job. Great depth, oh. Break, 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 break. There you go. Good. Ready to push through, oh. Good job. Good spots. Nice job, Cam Kitchens. Good. Scoop it, scoop it, scoop it. Sink your hips and scoop it there. Sink your hips and scoop it there. Bring it up, bring it up. Bring it up, bring it up.
All right, in terms of the pretty animated guy, confident guy, spirited guy. That's courtesy of Rams Productions there. Chris is 39 years old. He'll turn 40 next month. Went to Miami of Ohio. Don't believe he played. Check that. Let me see here. Did he have a playing career? Shula played linebacker for the Miami Redhawks from 2004 to 2008. And he was teammates with Sean McVay. No shit. Okay. But what's the Miami Redhawks? Miami Redhawks. Miami. Is this Miami of Ohio? Okay. Okay. Miami of Ohio. Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't look into his playing career. I've just been following along with his coaching career. So, okay. He did play. But as far as what the Ravens want him for, right? His coaching accolades and his coaching prowess, his defensive side of the ball is his forte. He began as an assistant linebackers coach at Ball State in 2010. From there, he was a grad assistant at Indiana from 11 to 13. After that, John Carroll, defensive coordinator, small school, and then got a defensive. Are you guys starting to see some of the repeated trends here with the McVay types, the Kubiak types? These guys go get at either small schools or in Clay Kubiak. We talked about him. He's the offensive coordinator in San Francisco who doesn't call the plays full time, brother of Clint, who the Ravens have already interviewed. In Clay's case, he got his first shot at a Jesuit high school as the football coach and as the coordinator prior to getting a quality control opportunity with the 49ers. So I find that to be so fascinating, and it just jogged my memory because his first NFL break for Chris came in the form of a defensive quality control coach from 2015 to 2016 with the then San Diego Chargers. After that, the Rams brought him in to be the assistant linebackers coach from 17 to 18. He was promoted to outside linebackers coach, promoted to linebackers coach, promoted to pass game coordinator and DBs coach, then pass rush coordinator and linebackers coach. And the last 2 years, he's served as the full-time defensive coordinator under Sean McVay with the Los Angeles Rams. So he's got a tremendous amount of experience really on both sides of the ball, but a defensive mind for the most part. And again, that last name, I'm not saying he's a Nepo baby at all. I'm just saying that name carries quite a bit of cachet. So Chris Shula's interview initially is done with the Ravens. He's getting a lot of interest around the league, as is a teammate of his, meaning on Sean McVay's coaching staff as well, and that's Nate Schelhouse. Nate, a little bit younger than Chris. He's 35. He'll turn 36 in November. We've spoken about him at length in recent weeks. Played quarterback at Illinois, had a wonderful collegiate career, and began at his alma mater as a football operations guy working there in 2015. Went over to Iowa State, worked there for several years in a variety of different roles, and then got his chance in the NFL under Sean McVay as an offensive assistant and passing game specialist in 2024, and he just finished up his first year as a pass game coordinator. So what's notable here is that there is no previous experience at the NFL level on a full-time basis of play calling. So that should be taken into account. But in terms of what his role is as a pass game coordinator under Sean McVay, I thought Nate himself, did a great job of explaining that in simple terms.
I ended up getting out of here after midnight. Okay, a while after midnight.
Schelhouse takes McVay's play script and uses an architectural computer program to build the visuals for the week's offensive game plan, which is presented to the team Wednesday morning.
So the starting point would be after I get the concepts of the week and the formations and the plays that we're anticipating running. You've kind of got this library of files that you have and similarities, at least with some of those concepts. You're opening it up, and this week we're going to specifically run it in this specific formation. So you're typing out, man, the formation is snug, right? We're running 11 pop, and the defense that we're planning on getting is over defense, playing cover 3.
And that's what the players use after they see the presentation from the offensive coordinator, and they build the whole playbook off of that.
By the time we hit that 8 o'clock meeting in the morning, we're lockstep, ready to roll, ready to install what's ever going on in the game plan.
When you think back to drawing plays for Sean, is there like a moment that comes to mind?
There is, for sure. It involved Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur. It's the simplest play known to man. It's both stick. It's just 2 5-yard stick routes. And I remember Sean wanted to draw in with a straight stem and an out, and then Matt came back and said, no, it should be an inside stem, vertical, and out. So I redrew them all that way, and then Sean said, what are you doing? I told you it was a straight stem. And so I kind of got back in the middle between Matt and Sean, and I didn't know who to answer. One's the offensive coordinator, one's the head coach. I remember redrawing the most basic pass known to man way more times than I should have.
I think whenever you get the opportunity to learn somebody that's done it at that high of a level, and just hear some of the why, it definitely grows you faster and farther than probably what you anticipated even beforehand.
It's how you learn the system. It's how you learn to interact with different coaches on staff, because they got a lot of questions for you, and it's a necessary evil in a lot of ways, but it's a really good thing for a young coach.
But when you get exposure to these great coaches like Kyle, like Mike Shanahan, I look back and I realize how grateful I was to really be able to see how did they do it, and then what's the best way to be able to mesh all the best parts of them into what we try to do on a year-to-year and a week-to-week basis.
Nice little snippet there of getting a feel for who Nate Schelhouse is, and I get it. Some of you are a little apprehensive, a little hesitant, the fact that he doesn't have any previous play calling experience under his belt. Look, I would challenge you to, one, trust your gut on that, if you so be it, right? But also, in the spirit of devil's advocate, that would be represented as an out-of-the-box hire, right? Can we agree there? It would be an out-of-the-box hire. It would be within the Sean McVay tree, which always brings a level of intrigue in terms of who's he bringing with him, who's coming along with him. But the reason why I mention it as the outside-the-box hire is that's exactly what Steve Bisciotti did 18 years ago. John Harbaugh was outside the box, a special teams guru in Philadelphia, just up the road, with other maybe safer options that were out there for the taking. So I just think we all have to kind of keep our eyes open, ears peeled, or no, it's eyes peeled, isn't it? Yeah. Ears locked. Ears locked in, eyes peeled, and on our toes when it comes to Steve Bisciotti in this hiring process. And I know this may feel like this is repetitive, continuing to going back to the snippet, but I will continue to say that on the contrary, when it comes to his head coaching criteria, he is on record, whether it's smoke or not, for saying this on that Tuesday press conference.
It's kind of interesting because when we started focusing on this, the very first thing that I said to Eric and Sash was, unlike 18 years ago, I am very intrigued by coaches that were the hottest offensive and defensive coordinators 5, 6, 7 years ago in their cycles and got jobs and went to teams that were non-competitive and didn't have a quarterback. And they grind for 3 or 4 years, and they're caught up in the cycle of many of my partners that are turning these. I think it's average 4 years career, right? I think the head coach is about 4 years. As we proved, I think we've got a quarter out now, right? 8, 9. So, the one thing that I know that I will probably take it on the chin is if our final candidate is an ex-coach who has a losing record, and you all are going to have to understand that we are going to be able to judge that failure with his circumstances and marry that up and not disqualify them. So it's interesting you said, is there anything that's disqualifying? Where we are, I could say I'm disqualifying coaches with losing records, but I think you have to remember that they were the hottest coaches in their cycle, and they got jobs, and they got tough jobs. And I don't think we have a tough job. I think that we got to we created the best opening in this cycle, and so that was the one category that I didn't want to ignore, because the first thing you all are going to say is, my God, he went 38-48 in his last job, and they're hiring him. When Tony Dungy said, this is a bad decision, and good luck finding someone better than John, I literally wanted to call Tony and say, you remember John 18 years ago? How can you take our success and use it against me while we're out trying to find the next John Harbaugh? That's impossible. So if I hire an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, none of y'all can say anything about his poor record the first time he was a head coach. And so it would be very easy for me to try and avoid those ex-head coaches because they have losing records. But I'm telling you, we are keen to their circumstances, and we won't let their first shot at a job influence us negatively for this one. As far as offensive and defensive coordinator, I really couldn't care, because you're bringing in 3 people. So I don't think that it matters for our offense whether a defensive head coach brings in a whiz of an offensive coordinator, or we fall in love with an offensive coordinator and hire him as a head coach, because he's going to go then back and get an offensive coordinator, and then what that brings up is who's going to call plays, right? Whether it's the coach that comes in as an offensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator he picks, which seems to be happening a lot lately. I mean, I believe we have a dozen or so that call their own plays, head coaches, right?
All right, you guys get the point. So there's that. That's out there, well known, keen to their circumstances. And it certainly, the list so far would suggest, based on the amount of ex-coaches who found their way, we're about to talk about one of them in just a second here, but that found their way into the hiring process within the candidacy list in Baltimore, that that they're serious about that, but that they're also serious about casting a wide net. And maybe, just maybe, if they fall in love with a guy without previous experience, like the two guys that you see here up on the screen, that much like they did 18 years ago, they will go unconventional. They will consider the outside the box hire. One note here from Albert Breer that I just saw pop up on my timeline a short while ago, and there's a lot happening right now as we get ready for the first of 4 divisional round games. So if you see me going back and forth from the timeline, just know that I'm trying to get you everything as up to date as I possibly can. But Chris Shula, who the Ravens just interviewed yesterday, he wound up doing 5 head coach interviews, according to Breer. He met with the Steelers, Ravens, Dolphins, Raiders, and Cardinals. He'd gotten 7 requests, and the 3 Rams assistants, Shula, LaFleur, meaning Mike, and Schelhouse, who the Ravens also looked at, did a total of 11 interviews. So a coveted staff, as Sean McVay's group typically is. We know how it goes, especially when they are seemingly perennial contenders. They'll play tomorrow night in the divisional round. It's going to be a good one. Rams, Bears. Could it be Matthew Stafford's last game? We'll wait and see. That's the latest on Albert Breer. I'm going to get to the guest lines in just a second. If you're down there in the waiting room, I appreciate you holding. Here is the latest on one of those ex-coaches that appears to be in the mix for a second interview with the Ravens, which would probably come in the form of an in-person interview. And I'm not sure if that the first week that they took a look at Stefanski, being that he was a free agent, I'm not sure if that was an in-person interview or not. Jeff's writing, I just can't remember it off the top of my head, but Jeff Zrebeck in The Athletic, I think, may have had that. I just can't remember. But anyway, as Diana Rossini notes, one of his colleagues at The Athletic, NFL Insider, Stefanski's visiting with the Falcons for his second interview this afternoon. That's today. Then he'll head to Nashville to meet with the Titans. Both Miami and Baltimore are trying to get him back in person by Wednesday. So that would suggest that he was in Baltimore for an interview with the Ravens. But the reason why you see competition in today's live stream is, I don't know if it's legit competition for the guy that they want, but clearly they're interested in Stefanski enough as a potential finalist to be, quote unquote, competing with the Miami Dolphins, who also have a vacancy, having let Mike McDaniel walk last week. Both organizations want him for a follow-up on Wednesday. So something to keep in mind as it relates to ex-Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. And while we're on that topic, just know that Mary Kay Cabot, friend of the show, Cleveland.com, Browns beat reporter, she's reporting that Tommy Rees, the former Notre Dame offensive coordinator, former Browns offensive coordinator, might have a chance to join Stefanski wherever he ends up. He's getting a second interview today with the Falcons. So just so we're kind of like keeping up to date, I know this is not the candidate that within the court of public opinion that would be approved, but I'm just kind of keeping you up to date in terms of where things are at with this search into the weekend and going into what will be week 2 starting next week. They're 10 plus days into this process already. DaCosta referred to it as a 3-week timetable, something that he's treating as a mini NFL draft, if you will. And it's important to note that when these games begin, and you're going to have a chance to look at several of the Ravens candidates that they've already interviewed in this game coming up in 10 minutes in Denver, Vance Joseph, Davis Webb. I don't think they've looked at Joe Brady yet, but he's the offensive coordinator for the Bills. It'll be important to remember that any of those candidates whose teams move on, the Ravens won't be able to conduct in-person interviews with them next week. Meaning in order to do those, they'll have to wait until the week after championship weekend or the week after the Super Bowl. And if that's the case, this thing might be pushing into February. So stay tuned on all those fronts. Appreciate you guys for being with me this afternoon. If you could like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership. We're minutes away from Denver, Buffalo, the first of 4 divisional round games. I asked you who you got this afternoon in the poll, Bills or Broncos, and 78% of you say Denver There's only 187 votes, but 78% of you say Denver. My sister's out in one of the tailgate environments. She lives in Denver, a neighborhood called Goldman, right down from the Coors headquarters. But anyway, should be a good game. Should be a hell of a weekend. I can't wait for the primetime games, particularly tonight. I mean, come on. This is what 49ers Seahawks tonight. That's what it's all about. I'm going to be watching that closely. And not just because of what some of you feel like is agenda-driven content that I've been bringing with Robert Saleh. Now, I did do 90 minutes today. I began my day after my workout and after a grocery visit and after Tilly was walked, going 90 minutes with Femi. We had a great conversation on life, everything, Ravens candidates, just so much we got into. And I enjoyed that. We talked a little bit about Brian Flores as well, and I did, not just for him, but I did bring in a couple clips so we can talk about Brian Flores before all is said and done, so that I can keep the public opinion, so I can stay within good standing of the court of public opinion, because that's important to me, even if it is the vocal minority. And I don't know if it is, but maybe it is. All right, Sergeant C was first up. What's up, brother? Let's open up these guest lines. There is a link that's pinned in my live chat if you want to share a thought with me this afternoon. We're just minutes out from getting the first of all these games started as divisional round weekend starts to ramp up. 90 seconds is what we've upgraded to. You're welcome. I'm going to continue to say that. And let's open them up. Sergeant C, happy weekend, brother. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? So first off, I was going to let you know that I'm getting ready to watch the game now. I actually live in Aurora, Colorado, which is a subdivision of Denver. I actually moved from Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I started following Lamar Jackson. So it's kind of fun to see them play today. But anyway, as far as the coaching goes, I'm starting to grow on the Robert Saleh. I definitely like what you've been saying about him. I like that pick. Clint Kubiak, definitely. I know last time I mentioned something about John Gruden. I think he might still be okay as an offensive coordinator, especially if Mike McDaniel's getting taken off the board, Clint Kubiak. So I still kind of have that spot in my heart where I'm hoping that they take him. But as far as head coach, I like Robert Saleh, Jesse Minter, definitely excited about him. So I'm just excited to see where they go with this opportunity. And at the end of the day, I have a lot of faith in Eric, but also in Steve Bisciotti, because he worked in the field of hiring folks. So I feel like when it gets down to the last five and he's able to pick away, I think he's going to be able to find the diamond in the rough like he did with John Harbaugh. Once again,
stuff.
thank you for having me, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, Sergeant. Enjoy the games, man. Louisville, where Lamar first came onto the scene, man. I know a lot of you within the audience first kind of developed your love for the Ravens through that connection, no doubt. And someone that Sergeant mentioned is Jesse Minter. And Derwin James, within the last year or so, had some very high praise for his defensive coordinator in Los Angeles under Jim Harbaugh.
You feel like Minter would make a good head coach?
Yeah. He can make whatever you want to be. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because he's that guy, he's that leader, alpha. Man, he's not looking around. He alpha, man. The guys play hard for him, man. And I just feel like he's just that dude, man. Every day you know what you're going to get with him. You know, he's consistent, man.
Are you worried that he's...
I ain't worried about that right now, man. We locked in right now. We're going to keep going. But hopefully, man, he ain't going nowhere.
One of the game's greats right there, Derwin James. He can be whatever he wants to be, he says. Interesting stuff. Keep it in mind. Jesse was an assistant under Harbaugh 2017 to 2020 in Baltimore. We know this by now, that they have a rapport. He's well respected in the building. Went to get defensive coordinator experience at Vanderbilt. Jim brings him to Michigan. They won a title together. He then brings them, and they bolt to Boltland with the Chargers, where he served as the DC the last couple of years. They've had really successful defenses. Look at what he got out of Odafe Owe after they acquired him at the deadline. So that'll be one to watch, certainly, as he now becomes available and highly coveted, highly sought after. He may be, outside of John Harbaugh, the most sought after candidate when it's all said and done, with no previous head coach experience in this cycle. So I think that's going to be one of those names that you start to really hear. And there's already, don't get me wrong, you've already heard a lot as it is, but I would not be surprised if next week becomes Jesse Minter full discussions. across the board. Center stage, Jesse Minter, if you will. Let's see here. Oh, and let me just be clear, because LSC758 is asking where the Femi and Bobby discussion is. I'm talking about on the phone, like off the record. Femi and I spoke for 90 minutes to start our morning. So it wasn't on camera. It was just him and I catching up as buddies. And I just thought that it was very interesting. We covered a ton of ground. That's all I was saying. And he convinced me that I should be doing more cover. Well, I should say this. I think that I've been giving enough coverage to Brian Flores. But some of you don't believe that to be true, and I have to respect that. And so I have some planned before I finish up today's show. Is that fair? Hope so. Back to the guest lines we go. Appreciate you guys for being with me today. Live chat reacting accordingly to what I just said. Let's get back to the guest lines. Is it Ane? Am I pronouncing that right? Perfect. One take wonder for the boy. 90 seconds on the clock, Ane. Welcome, brother. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? I just want to say I agree with you on Brian Flores. I'm not that hot on him either, but I'm more hot on Davis Webb because if you look back at like 2008, no one knew about Harbaugh. None of the fans, Harbaugh wasn't on the radar. People wanted the hottest candidate back then, and Steve Bisciotti and company were able to find Harbaugh, get him here for 18 years, get a Super Bowl, and even though the last couple seasons haven't been that good with him, he still got us a lot of success. He's one of the most winning coaches in the league. I mean, so I trust, like the other guy said, I trust the front office to make the right decision. But like Davis Webb, he's energetic, he has the passion, and he still has a lot of years left. And I mean, I heard what Bisciotti said about not about getting someone that has previous head coaching experience because they want to win now. But I don't know that previous head coaching experience necessarily translates into a win now type of thing. I think having someone fresh, having someone new that has a chip on the shoulder to prove that they're good, I think they would be more of a win now type of candidate. That's why I like Davis Webb. And also, he's a quarterbacks coach, so I'm sure him and Lamar will get along just fine because him and Bo Nix plays similar in his running style and his passing game. They're very similar, so I think that would be a great candidate. But yeah, have a good weekend. And thank you for all you do.
Hey, thanks, Ane. I appreciate you for calling in. You're going to have a chance to watch your boy Davis Webb here in a couple minutes. So let's see how he has Bo prepared.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Enjoy your weekend, man. Thank you, Ane.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Davis, look, I think he's still a year or two, if not more, away from, he's in that grooming process right now, if you will. He's under Sean Payton. He's gotten a lot out of Bo Nix. His coaching career began very recently. He's 30 years old. He's younger than me. He's going to turn 31 later this month. John Jenkins, who just signed an extension, is 36. I'm not saying that that's like an area of resistance or a red flag, but that's, I mean, look, that would qualify as way outside the box. If Nate Schelhouse is outside the box, then shit, that's like on a different block wherever the box is. But look, one of the first guests that I had on when there was initial interest from the Ravens on the Denver point of view, Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, and Davis Webb, who Ane just brought up. My buddy Zach Bai, who came on the show, he's works for the Fan out in the Denver sports market as a radio host. And he used to work with Brandon Stokely, former Ravens wide receiver, Bronco, won a Super Bowl in Baltimore. And now he works with Philip Lindsay. He was a Colorado Buffalo, had some success in the NFL as well. And he just raved about Davis Webb's development and spoke about the time that Sean, meaning Sean Payton, brought Davis in to interview. And they basically he basically put them in a position where they felt like they had no other choice but to make sure they retained him in some capacity because that's how much he blew them away in his interview process. So he's young, he's bright, he's confident, and he is on the fast track. I just don't know if that is in Baltimore right now. Speaking of Sean Payton, there he is with Tracy Wolfson as this game gets underway in Denver. Chilly one. Broncos, Bills, divisional round. Should be a blast. And you get a chance to watch three candidates. Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator. Vance Joseph, DC on Denver. And Davis Webb in a non-play call role. Okay, back to the guest lines here in just a second, but just so that we're fully caught up to speed on Mike McDaniel, because I think in the last 24 hours or so since the Ravens announced that his interview's been completed in Baltimore, there's a lot of buzz around him, and deservedly so, because he's a brilliant offensive mind, and I think there's a growing belief throughout the NFL that he's deserving of a second chance right now at the head coach position. And if not, perhaps he takes an offensive coordinator job if it's a desirable one. He's scheduled an interview with the Raiders on Monday, and that's going to be in Miami for their head coaching vacancy. And Pelissero's just given some context here. They got the number one pick, potentially Fernando Mendoza, who we're going to watch play for a national title in Miami, coming up on Monday night. Should be a blast. Indiana. What a story. What a freaking story. But just in case you missed last night, I loved this clip from former Ravens tight end Darren Waller. He went on the Glory Days podcast. It's Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football's podcast. And he talked a little bit about what he saw from Mike McDaniel this year. It was Darren's lone season under Mike. And there's a lot to like from an X's and O's standpoint, schematically, the brain power that a Yale graduate in Mike McDaniel possesses. Listen to this.
Bro, he's a human computer, bro. Like, it's crazy. There's a week we played the Chargers, bro. This dude started making up formations, bro, and he broke down, like he was telling us this, he broke down how the Chargers, how their quarters defense is set up. They and when they have like if you put 4-2 aside, they put everybody over into the corner of the formation. He's like, wherever we run this play from, it was like basically like a G scheme to the right. He's like, wherever we run this play is going to hit for a touchdown. And it was early in the game, and Vaughn scored from like 60-something on the play because we put 4 into the boundary, and he figured out that defenses shit themselves. If you put somebody like in a slot formation, but they're 5 yards in the backfield, they don't know how to treat him as a running back or as a slot receiver.
So if he's pretty much even with the quarterback and you just move him out 8 yards to the left of where the quarterback is and you just flex him out like that, they have no idea?
They had no idea what to do. There's a whole bunch of teams we started playing from there to where the run game really took off because these different formations, they started throwing Dan Brunskill like extra O lineman as a tight end, and he had to have him going across the formation and shit. But yeah, just the way that he really got like in his like designer bag for the run scheme just alone. And then the passing game as well. It's just like thrown into those windows. Everything is just like that anticipation, just like throwing it, really just having the faith to put it there. If you paused it, as the ball's leaving the quarterback's hand, you'd be like, why is he throwing it there? But then Waddle's flying in there, catching it. I'm coming in, catching it like right on time. Like
I would be so interested to see what he's calling his stuff and like formation based wise. Like obviously whenever I was with McDaniel, he was our receivers coach in Cleveland. But you know, we would get into like early in the week or something. It'd be like a Monday after our like, you know, workout that you have after a game on Sunday. The next day you go in, you do your workout, and it'd be like, yo, what are we thinking for this week? What are our runs going to be? And I remember Shanahan being like, you know, me and McDaniel haven't sat down on it. So like the way he evolved as far as learning everything, you know, he was our receivers coach, but he's doing our entire run game package for the whole week. So just like how much he knows about ball, the whole thing was just like crazy to see. Like I don't see how there's any way he doesn't get another opportunity somewhere else. I would be shocked because in my opinion of how he is, I think the guy is deserving of being a head coach.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant, man. I mean, like you see throughout the year, it's like everybody needs somebody to blame for everything. But it's like, you look back over the season, it's like, man, this dude is like, the shit that he's preaching, what he's teaching, how detailed he is, how he's explaining stuff to us. It's like, bro, I feel prepared going into every game. I know like certain situations, what to expect coverage wise. Like, he breaks that shit down for real. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if there's anything that people think that he needs to grow in, I feel like he's smart enough guy to realize, like, okay, maybe these are certain things that I could have done better. These are certain situations where I could have held people to a higher standard. Whatever he takes away from it, I know for a fact that he's going to apply that information. He's too fucking smart. Not
100%.
Denver game's underway. Broncos driving down the field on Buffalo in their opening drive. Really sunny day in Denver. But how about that from Darren Waller and Johnny Manziel? I mean, if that doesn't kind of get you excited about the ability, the skill set, the intelligence, the player relatability that Mike McDaniel possesses, I don't know what does. Get a load of this. In those 90 minutes today with them, I was reminded, because he's been high on Mike McDaniel for a long time. And you want to know why? Because Femi had a front row seat to Mike McDaniel. He was the running backs coach for the California Redwoods / Sacramento Mountain Lions from 2009 to 2010. Now, let me make sure I get this right. Yeah, the UFL. That was in the UFL. So Femi had a firsthand look at what he's all about, Mike McDaniel, way back in the beginning of his career in 2009 and 2010, where he's the running backs coach for that organization in the UFL. It's kind of cool. What's also kind of cool is listening to him talk about Lamar Jackson the way he did in December of 2023.
Offered my skill set to be scout team quarterback to try to replicate it, but it was not accepted. So it's hard to even give an appropriate look. He's just that type of player. And outside of this game, I'm just happy for the player, because what I recognize is, you talk about an unbelievable talent, but even him, he's had to say, he's had to define himself. He's had people tell him what he is, and he disagrees. And how can I tell? It's not because I've had a conversation with him. I see better than I hear.
That's a bar right there. I see better than I hear. Is that not great? Ali, if you're ready to roll, brother, by the way, we can get you in. Oh, you know what? Jesus, until you put your last name on there, I wasn't sure who I was looking at. Okay. Oh, that's a blast from the past. Waiting room's coming up here in just a second. Guest lines are going to open. But Mike McDaniel on Lamar from December of 2023, it speaks of him very fondly. But again, I see better than I hear. He didn't have to go on that whole little tangent right there, but he did. And I remember it going stupid viral a couple of years ago, deservedly so. Quickly, thanks to FanDuel for the continued support of the program as the 2026 calendar flips. Got a brand new sponsor. Couldn't do it without you guys. I appreciate FanDuel. And I was taking a look just for you. They got some same game parlay bets that are going on in the San Francisco primetime matchup. Not just for the San Francisco-Seattle one, but these ones are that you're looking at the screen here. So anyway, some props. They're calling it the Deja Vu Crew. Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown scorer. Jackson Smith and Jigba going over 80 yards, one of the best receivers in the game. Christian McCaffrey, 6 or more receptions. Brock Purdy, 15 or more yards in terms of rushing categories, something to take a look at. How many people have placed it so far? 3,890. Bet on a trilogy of triumphs, they're calling it. You got over 3 hours to potentially choose from it. But anyway, go check out sportsbook.fanduel.com. Live bets for the game that just started in Denver. And you see the rest of these that are going to get underway over the course of the next couple of days. Should be fun. Appreciate them. And appreciate you guys for being with me today. Still going to talk about Brian Flores, I promise. And we'll get to the rest of the waiting room as we speak as well. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's pull up. Let's get our updated candidate list before I do anything, shall we? Let's see. Where's my graphic? Way too many graphics these days. Aha. Here we go. Bring her up. Here she comes. All right, to the guest lines we go. 90-second clock and a friend from the past, man. One of our first sponsors when we were really getting going on the vault. Big Ravens fan. What's going on, Ali? Good to see you, brother.
What's going on, Bobby? How are you?
What you got for us today?
I'm actually, it's 1:30 a.m. here. I'm in Dubai on business for the past 2 weeks. So it's been really refreshing to see one of, you covering the Ravens through this, interesting month, right? Like we lost a game. I was actually up 5 a.m., watching a game, and we lost. And then, obviously everything happened. So appreciate you, giving some good context on kind of the coaching search and kind of the press conference, right? Which is really real football conversation. So
absolutely,
keeping actual fans
Are you in a cigar bar?
plugged in. I am in the cigar bar. So worked all day, and it's 1:43 a.m. here, and somehow I saw your YouTube link, and I was like, all right, I gotta click on my man. So
dude, what a
appreciate
vibe
you guys.
right now. You're 1:43 in the morning, Dubai, Masters Augusta hat on, cigar chilling, divisional round games, 12 hours behind. Like, that is awesome.
Yeah, well, you got a great show, both you and Sarah. So I'll just make 2 points, as far as kind of Ravens. I agree with you. I think it's got to be Robert Saleh because Ravens have always been about defense first, Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, culture matters. And I think he fits that DNA. He's fast, he's disciplined, he's emotionally invested, kind of the things that, that we see. He's a proven leader, so he's not like a coordinate gamble, right? So even if he makes defense good, that's still a big W based on last year. And then I think the 2 other things is, he has player buy-in accountability based on kind of the injuries that happened in San Francisco and then kind of the new players that stepped in. So, it's critical for like a veteran player to have the buy-in, but also new players to have the coaching. And then finally, you're right. We've got to get a really good offensive coordinator to really let the offense breathe, right? And I think he'll be able to do that because, and it doesn't mean like a conservative offense, right? Especially if you get like a guy like Mike McDaniel. It actually means like a strong offensive coordinator to kind of protect Lamar and, kind of build on kind of some new schemes. So culture, defense, and then let the offense kind of do their thing. So completely agree. I think it's got to be, I think it's no-brainer. You bring in Robert Saleh. I think Bisciotti had a great point that you can't judge people based on kind of how they work at different jobs. So you got to, give them a second chance. And so that's my take. And thanks for having me on again.
Hey, and much like he had a chance last week, he gets the opportunity to make a pitch to the NFL world, basically, coming up later on, prime time. So should be a blast. Safe travels back. It was great catching up with you. Thanks for the call, man. Later. Mr. Dubai. I love it. Is that not a vibe? Augusta hat on. It's 1:43 in the morning. Cigar bar chilling. The first of 4 games. Is that a fumble? With a flag, but is that a fumble? I don't have the sound on, so hold on a second. Bear with me. Why not? We're doing a little bit of a live watch here. Buffalo recovered. But were the Bills offside? I think they were. Let's take a look. Yep. Coming back. Offside. Coming back. Some of you guys are hate watching, aren't you? Yes, you are. As we continue with updates and rumblings and you name it about candidates, the Titans are beginning to finalize their head coach candidates. Jeff Hafley. I don't know why the Ravens. Do you guys think that the 16th mystery candidate could be Jeff Hafley, Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator? He seems to be really, really coveted in this cycle that the Ravens haven't spoken about, at least publicly. So Jeff Hafley, Matt Nagy, and Kevin Stefanski all are scheduled, for in-person interviews next week. Jordan Schultz says his understanding is there could be more as well. Hafley is a likely finalist everywhere he's interviewed. Dolphins, Raiders, Steelers, Cardinals, Browns, should he choose to proceed with all 6. not the Ravens. You know, that 16th mystery candidate is fascinating, is it not? I want to know who that freaking guy is. Badly. Shimmy Boy writes, heard McDaniel has clock management issues and 2-minute drives and calling challenges. Would have to see. Other than that, he's great. You think he'd be a step up in that regard, though, with the previous head coach who struggled with that over the years, Shimmy? That may have been actually what did him in. Clock mismanagement, time mismanagement, as Denver fires to the end zone. Oh, that was right in the bread basket. Did the Bills DB get a hand on that? Anyway, Denver driving. 3rd and 6. Did he just straight up drop this football? Oh, yeah, that's a drop. That's a bad drop, too. Right-hand corner. That should be 6 for Denver. Instead, maybe the sun impacted his sight line there, but that's a bad drop. Can't have that drop in the playoffs, and Bo knows it. Bo put it right where he needed it. That's too bad. 3rd and 6, as I do a little bit of play-by-play. From the shotgun. Bo drops back. Clean pocket. Airmails his receiver. And Denver's going to have to kick a field goal. 4th and 6. 7:33 to go in the opening quarter. One day we'll get back to play-by-play. Let's get back to the guest lines, shall we? Jesus, Maurice is doing EB shit down there. What do I mean by that? Up in the clouds. Yes. Cloudy. Very cloudy. Let's see. I was doing chronological order, was I not? Yes, I was. AB. A Black's in the building. 90 seconds on the clock. Happy Saturday to you, brother. Welcome back to the program.
What's going on? How you doing?
Great, man. What do you got for us today?
Hey, I noticed like a lot of people, they say, Robert Saleh has to be the guy because he's a great DC. That is true. But Brian Flores is a better DC, right? And I was listening to you the other day, Bob, and you mentioned that you take real stock in what Ryan Fitzpatrick said and Tua said, right? And it's
some
all telling.
Some
stock, right? It's all true. I would take more stock in Ryan Fitzpatrick than Tua for this simple reason. Tua showed his character when he threw all his teammates under the bus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes and no.
But
that was an ugly.
But as a quarterback, when I speak as a former player, right? I played ball, I coached it. And as a quarterback, you're the leader amongst men, and you don't throw dudes under the bus like that, right? You know what I'm saying? You fall on the sword, you take it for what it is. But that's neither here nor there. My thing is, when is Brian Flores going to get past that Dolphin stuff? We've had players who have voluntary manslaughter, who hit people and killed them and still played in the league. A receiver, I ain't gonna name his name, first name, I ain't gonna name his name, but they was able to get past that. When is Brian Flores gonna be able to get past that and be a real candidate? And like, my thing is this, B. If Brian Flores is the coach, are you going to 100% back him and root him, or anybody?
Oh, look. Well, here's the thing. I don't even know how else to say this. I think I've gathered enough information, truly, genuinely, objectively, to say that he is not a fit for the Ravens. And when I say fit, I don't believe they're serious in their interest of him. And that's
so what do you mean? What do you mean by he's not a fit? What do you mean?
For what they're looking for.
What are they looking for?
All things considered.
What are they looking for?
Oh my God, there's a multitude of factors. So what I mean by this is, until somebody or something says otherwise, that's why I've dedicated the majority of my coverage to learning about candidates that are coming up to be interviewed this weekend, like a Saleh, like a McDaniel from a day or two ago, like the Rams assistants.
Right.
Also, candidates that are garnering interest from a slew of the vacancies.
Right.
That's Saleh, that's Minter, that's Schelhouse, that's Shula, right? Like, there's a lot of guys on the screen right here that are highly coveted from almost all, if not the entire group of vacancies. That's not been Brian. No knock against him, but that's not been Brian. Other than Pittsburgh and Baltimore, I don't believe he's interviewed for a head coaching vacancy.
No, he hasn't. And that doesn't mean he shouldn't be. We already know why he's not. So my thing is this. This is my question. And then you can answer it. And I know you got a bunch of people, and I'm just gonna watch.
My man's taking 90 times. I mean, look at 90 times. I give him 90 seconds. He takes
three. My bad, B. Hey, when I do my Storm Warner show, you can come on and I give you as much time as you want. But no, I got a question. Like, if he's really not a fit like that for the organization, right? Why interview him?
Well, okay, this is where it gets into this is the harsh reality of life in the NFL. And I'm not saying this is the case.
Right.
But there have been 1,000 cases, and there will be continued thousands and thousands of cases, because this is just how it works in business, that there are such things as favors. There are such things as experiences, opportunities, things of that nature. And I don't say that to demean the guy at all. But that does happen. That does happen. And all I'm saying, AB, is when you look around, and again, people are going to take that out of context, right? And I hope they don't.
Right.
When you look around, I think it tells the story. There's a level of hesitance that you've seen from these organizations that have vacancies at the head coach role. Now, I'm not going to go as far as AZ's doing right now and go satisfying the Rooney Rule. I won't do that because I think that's demeaning. Now, that could be a part of reality because you need 2 in-person candidates to satisfy the Rooney Rule. That's just life, right? That's just the facts. I'm not going to go that far because I don't think that's fair. But that's what I would say to you there.
Okay.
And hey, I'll leave you with this too. I mean, shit, my man's hijacking the show, guys. No, you always bring the facts. I love when you come on. But you're setting a new precedent. Now everybody in the waiting room's looking at me like, motherfucker, I'm getting you for 90 times.
Hey, look, to everybody, my bad. Look, hey, I live in DC. You know what I'm saying?
Whereabouts?
Southeast.
Oh, nice.
Southeast DC. You know what I'm saying? Congress Heights. So I'm a Ravens fan. You know what I'm saying? Been a Ravens fan. You know what I'm saying? Since Ray got dead. So I'm interested. I want to see who my team is going to draft. I'm not draft, but have as a head coach. And look, I told you the last time I was up here, I told you Robert Saleh was my number 2 guy. So if Brian Flores is not the guy, I'm happy with Robert Saleh. I just was throwing some stuff up there to get your brain moving today.
Of course, bro. Of course. And I wouldn't expect anything less. That's why I love callers like you. Now, here's the thing when it comes to Saleh, and we'll finish up here. You know, with Robert, I think where he maybe has the leg up in terms of, lately Flores' defense is statistically, categorically, rankings-wise, they got most of these candidates beat. Like, he's among the top 5, top 10 defenses when he coordinates a defense. And I'm aware of that. But I think where Saleh's got the leg up is in the potential staffing that he brings with him. He's got a level of connections and rapport, and that tree runs deep.
That Rolodex is a little bigger.
You already know it.
Especially on the offensive side. And Lamar is the most important player in this organization. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Correct. And I think I'll continue to say it. The most important hire, literally, it's got to be the head coach first and foremost. But I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Whoever he's coming with at the play caller position, that's a unilateral. That is an equivalent in terms of the importance and the impact and the magnitude of that hire. It's equal.
I agree. Thanks, but man. I appreciate you. Hey, I appreciate you, B.
Of course. Likewise.
I'm going to catch you on the rebound.
Okay. Enjoy the games today. AB. Right. This is Southeast. Look at him. The district. Man, I did a stint in the district. Yes, I did. Not long after graduating Loyola. Got my start in NBC Sports Washington based in Bethesda. At the time, I was living in like a group house because I was getting paid jack shit. And I had just graduated with a whole lot of loans from a private school. We only ended up there because of the financial aid package. Look, a lot of people get this wrong about me. We came from humble beginnings. Yes, was it suburban white America outside of Albany, New York? Yes. I'm never going to tell you otherwise. Yes, it was that. So I was very lucky, all things considered. And when you start to travel the world, you're reminded of how lucky you really are, in my case. But it was humble beginnings. And when you have 4 kids and your parents go through a divorce, and there comes obviously a financial burden with that, and they want to send us all to the best schools that we could possibly go to, money's tight. So where I'm going with this is I ate some humble pie as my career started. I was living in literally a dude's house that worked at NASA in Silver Spring with like 3 or 4 people. We all shared a shower. Like, hey, I'm working at NBC from 4 p.m. to midnight on the weekends and holidays and shit. I'm caddying during the day to make it work. I'm play-by-play broadcasting at GW and Johns Hopkins and taking any kind of Catholic University men's basketball. I mean, I was doing everything to make it work. And when Keith Mills semi-retired, I got the Ravens radio gig at WBAL and 98 Rock. I don't even know why I'm telling you guys this right now, but this is just life. And I think the more Sarah and I build this, the more gratitude I have. But I took that job for, at the time, double what my salary was, which is well below 6 figures, by the way, at the time. The night shift, the production type podcasting digital shift that I was working at NBC Sports Washington. And for those of you that are familiar with the area, that's the old Comcast Sportsnet. So they had the TV rights to the Wizards and the TV rights to the Capitals. So I thought that was kind of my leg up and my vision and my path to like traditional media and broadcasting and studio work and you name it. Now I'm just going to tell you guys like my whole life story here for a couple minutes. We'll get back to the waiting room in just a second. Who the hell wants to watch the divisional round game anyway? There's only 3 candidates in there for the Ravens. And so I was like, this is a no-brainer. The starting salary, I think, was only in the 60s. But again, that doubled what I was making at NBC Sports Washington in production. Because, guys, like if you're not familiar with this industry to start out, it is thankless. It is shitty hours, low-quality lifestyle. Like that's what you sign up for. And that's why a lot of people go out to the North Dakotas and the Idahos and all these small markets to try and get their tape and reel and resumes started. I refused to do that. And so I kind of I shot high and thought to myself, okay, if I can start in production and do the play-by-play stuff on the side and then caddy for extra money on the side, Columbia Country Club. That's how I got to know like Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. Obama was out there. I mean, there were some really great people off of Connecticut Ave, for those of you that are familiar with the area, in Bethesda, Silver Spring, that area. And so that's what I would do by day. And then by night, I was working these other shifts, just making it all work. And so when Keith retired and I had some networking and connections through Baltimore, because that's where I went to school at Loyola, as Buffalo is driving right now in the red zone. Denver's up 3-0, just over 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. For me, it was like, this is a no-brainer. I got to take this. This is my first legitimate break in broadcasting. So you go from one shitty hour job to another, and next thing I know, I'm getting up at like 3:34 in the morning because I'm on the morning drive show. And I'm doing sports updates on WBAL. I'm doing sports commentary in the 6, 7, and 8 o'clock hours on 98 Rock. But I'm getting access to the Ravens building. I'm doing pre- and post-game shows with Keith Mills and Pete Gilbert. And I'm starting to like build everything together, right? Anyway, long story short, they showed me the door, in March of 2022. And I just remember being like, you know what? I can either take a lateral move with radio, start fresh in a different market, or just say, fuck it. Like, let me just go take a leap. Let me take a leap. And I took it. And here we are 4 years later. More than tripled that salary that I finished with during the traditional media. I took back control of what's mine, creative control, visions, flexibility, geography, you name it. Bills are driving, 3rd and 6. Josh Allen trying to punch it in here. Is he going to take it in himself? Yes, he is. No, he's dropped short. But did he get the first down, or is that ball loose? I don't know. Maybe I'm behind you guys too on YouTube. But anyway, that's my life story. You didn't ask for it, but I gave it to you. Is Josh down? Did he get the first down? Yeah, he's down. Looks like you guys are you guys way ahead of me? Let me go ahead and skip this ahead. I feel like wow, Denver with a hell of a stand right now. Shit. anyway, I'm sure we're all on different. Times. But anyway, that's me. You guys in the waiting room are like, what the fuck, man? Why are you like giving us tangent? I don't know. I wanted to make you forget that I just gave AB like 8 minutes. All right. Like the video on your way in if you could. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. I appreciate you guys for being here. Josh is definitely short. What are they reviewing right now? Oh, it's 1st and goal. Yeah, so they're going to get it. They're not tush pushing it? 1st and goal? Damn. Let's see if Denver's defense can hold strong. Well, they certainly did on 1st and goal. To the guest lines we go. Maurice, before he gets too above the clouds where EB lives. Let's bring him in. Dre and Jewel, I see you as well. Guest lines are open. 90 seconds on the clock, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there.
You're doing just fine. Yep.
By the way, I've been on cloud nine since yesterday, so I might be a little too late on that. But yeah, I'm still on board with Robert Saleh as head coach. I know some people remember that, my pick used to be Brian Flores. I explained my reasoning behind my switch. But yeah, Robert Saleh, I believe he is that one guy who could be the voice of the locker room. So we need that voice in the locker room at a head coaching position. So truth be told, we haven't really had the voice within the coaching staff since Marvin Lewis and Rex Ryan departed from Baltimore. So I feel like if we can get not only a defensive-minded head coach, but a player coach and a motivator all in one as head coach, then, 9 times out of 10, that could be that one particular guy at head coach that could push their team past their limits if they want what's best for this entire unit. But Robert Saleh, I feel he is the ideal candidate. And I know there are several other good quality candidates out there. You got your Clinton Kubiak, you got J.C. Minter, you got Kevin Stefanski. Fuck Kevin Stefanski, by the way. But yeah, that's my take on it. But yeah, Robert Saleh, I feel like that is the right move. So it's up to boss man Bisciotti to pull the trigger and play his cards right and see where we go from there.
Thanks, Maurice. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call. Let's, as promised. I mean, I'm over 60 minutes in here. By the way, the Bills punched in. Nice creative design there. Had Denver fooled. So 7-3 waning moments of the first quarter. Bills lead the Broncos in what should be a hell of a game. I did promise some Brian Flores content. Now, as I told AB, and I'll continue to say, I think I've had enough conversations and gathered enough information to confidently tell you at this juncture that he is not a legitimate candidate for the Ravens. That does not take away from his candidacy as a defensive coordinator elsewhere. That doesn't take away from his candidacy potentially as a head coach candidate in places like Pittsburgh and others. But I'm talking about it from a Ravens perspective. And I'm going to share with you what I feel like I should. And that's been one of them. Now, as for Flores, Femi and I had a nice discussion earlier today. And he's like, I think you should share this clip from your interview more, meaning with Matthew Coller, Vikings insider, who Femi thinks, and I think too, he gave the best, most level-headed, up-to-date, what have you done for me lately analysis of Brian Flores from what he's seen the last 2 years as Kevin O'Connell's defensive coordinator in Minnesota. So for Fem, for those of you that would like more of this, here is that clip that apparently I should just have on loop for the foreseeable future.
Like every can of worms has another little can of worms inside of it with Brian Flores. And this is certainly part of it because Brian Flores took over a team that was tanking. And according to Flores, if you really dive deep into this, he was offered, this is his claim, he was offered extra bonuses for losing football games, which if you've ever met Brian Flores, I cannot imagine how that conversation went. Like asking this guy to lose games to try to get them to the top. And then ironically, they get Tua anyway, but the tank for Tua thing. So that relationship in Miami certainly did not start off on the right foot with Tua because the whole tanking thing was for him. The other part of it too is that head coaches want to win football games, which doesn't always connect to playing young quarterbacks and developing young quarterbacks. So there was conflict about when to play Tua, when to keep Ryan Fitzpatrick in. And I think as things started to devolve and get more challenging, from the way that Ryan Fitzpatrick describes it, that's where Brian Flores said, I'm taking the reins of all of this. I'm not going to be a delegator. We're going to do whatever I say. And Fitzpatrick said that you'd be hard-pressed to find other coaches on that staff that would back Brian Flores as a head coach again. Now, your point, though, is right, that we are talking about something that happened multiple years ago in his first opportunity as a head coach, going from a linebackers coach to the head of an entire organization that was extremely dysfunctional. So, you know, there's an old Chappelle skit about, you know, the real world and how people go crazy. And if people know that, they know what I'm talking about. But it's kind of like you put a guy in a situation that would drive anyone insane, and you know, it doesn't work out maybe perfectly. Even the best franchises, as you've seen, Baltimore has been held up forever as the cream of the crop, and yet still dysfunction is possible inside any NFL building. But he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He works with Mike Tomlin. He comes to the Minnesota Vikings and works with Kevin O'Connell. And I think that if you were ranking all of your culture coaches in the National Football League, 1 through 32, 1 and 2 are probably Mike Tomlin and Kevin O'Connell. And I think that Brian Flores has been very reflective about this anytime he's ever been talked about it, because when Tua called him a bad person, first of all, at that press conference where Flores was set to talk about it, his players came to the podium with him before that press conference to back him. So that was something they didn't have to do, but they wanted to make it clear, like, we don't feel the way that Tua is describing. And I have never heard that from his players here. In fact, if you go look at the best players to ever talk about something are guys with nothing to lose. If you go look at Stephon Gilmore or Anthony Barr, the things that they've posted on social media about Flores' candidacy, they are backing him 100%. And those guys are not in the league anymore. They could say whatever they want. And so anything internally, whether it's Josh Metellus or Harrison Smith saying that one of the main reasons he returned was that he loved working with Brian Flores. So people can learn, people can change, especially in the NFL, and understand maybe better how to delegate, how to run an organization. But you can't ignore that stuff happened. And you also can't ignore that he didn't sign an extension with the Vikings, and wonder about what are the internal relationships like with him and the front office and Kevin O'Connell when he decided not to do that. Like, it couldn't have just been money as the cause. So there is, and what makes him such a fascinating character in the NFL in general is there's a lot that we just don't know that has gone on. And there's a lot that we can't project about how he will handle that situation again. All I could tell you is that the players here have backed Brian Flores 100% really from day one and connected with him extremely well. And I also know that regardless of how dysfunctional it was, he had elite defenses in Miami too. And the guy really knows what he's doing on that side of the football.
All right, as promised, that I think is the most fair, most level-headed analysis that I've got. Matthew Coller is a Vikings insider. Purple Insider is what his podcast is called. And I thought that was a great interview from the opening week when this first began. Now, the Ravens have interviewed Brian Flores. There's no buzz surrounding a potential second interview. I'm going to read you a text before I get back to the guest lines here. And I think this best summarizes everything. I texted somebody today. I said, I think the Ravens want someone you can mold into what's already long been established in Baltimore. Someone who can lead and reset things fast. Someone who has cachet with his staff that he brings along. Someone who connects with his players. And most importantly, Lamar. Does Flores check more than one of those boxes? I don't think so. And that, to me, is why I don't believe him to be a legitimate candidate or a finalist, let's call it. He was good enough to be a candidate of the 16. I don't believe that he's legitimate enough for Baltimore's purposes to be a finalist. And that's where I'm at. Guest lines are open. Let's see what you have to say about that. EB, you with me? Let's see what this call is all about today. Son of a bitch. Everybody buckle up. This is always a call that you just kind of hang on for dear life on. And since he's not on camera, we're going to Jewel. Dre, you're up next. Jewel, take it away, brother. 90 seconds on the clock.
Hey, what's going on, Bob? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good, good.
All right, so I fixed the technical crap that happened last time.
We all saw it last week. Go ahead,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah. You tried to put up some story, and then we know. You know that was on your part. Anyway, moving on. So, I've already spoke my piece on the head coaching candidates that I'm looking at tonight with Saleh and Clint Kubiak. I'm seeing a lot of people are going with Saleh over Clint Kubiak. I'm not hearing the more buzz around him anymore. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I'm not hearing too much buzz on Clint Kubiak anymore. It's like it's dying down a little bit.
Well, probably because they're just being respectful of the game.
Right.
I think they're just I just think that they're being respectful of the game, and if he advances, you'll continue to not hear much because he won't be allowed to in-person interview next week.
Yeah. I agree. I just feel like I'm going to be watching how these guys on both the teams, how the players respond to each one of the coordinators, how they play, how they react, and all that. That's what I'm really keen on. If one of them fold, then we're going to see who's going to be the one that's not going to be, in that top four as far as the head coaching candidates.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks, Jewel. I think it's a function of, let me get Dave. Dave, I'm putting your ass in timeout. It's just below the belt bullshit from you. No surprise. Son of a bitch. God damn. He's lucky I didn't ban his ass too. He's damn lucky. Bullshit. It's not that Kubiak isn't highly sought after. He's one of the most sought after candidates out there. It's just there's certain rules and guidelines. And if San Francisco wins tonight, and I think this is where their injuries catch up to them, by the way. I'm not picking San Francisco tonight. But if for some reason they upset Seattle, then you're going to hear a lot about Clint because there's going to be no guidelines and he's going to be flown all over the country next week for in-person type stuff. Dre, let's get you in here. 90 seconds on the clock. Always on the move. Wouldn't expect anything less. Welcome back to the program, brother. 90 on the clock.
What up, bro? Can you hear me okay?
Always.
Yo, real quick. What's the fluid ounces on that energy drink you're drinking? What's the fluid ounces on it?
Don't worry, though. I've been
What's the
hammering
fluid
water
ounces?
today. 12.
It's 12 fluid ounces?
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as that's done, you drink 24 fluid ounces of water.
Oh, I think I've already done triple that today. I ran 5 miles today. Yeah.
All right, good. Because you the type of motherfucker, man. You when the last time you been to the doctor?
I eat pretty well. I know you guys don't think so because of my
That's
tiny
what I said, when the last time you been to the doctor? See, Bobby, you one of them type of people that think because you work out and you do this and you eat pretty good that you don't need to go to the doctor. Bro, you need to take your ass to the doctor because I think of some things that you don't really understand what's going on. You need to get it checked out. But anyway.
All right.
You know I got to look out for you. I'm your official, unofficial life coach. That includes health and wellness, dating and mating. There's a whole program that I got that I need to give to you. But anyway.
Hey, Cook, sorry. Yes, I acknowledge all that, and I appreciate you, and I accept that role of yours. Cook just fumbled. That is a fumble. He was not down. James Cook fumbled, and with a couple minutes into the second quarter, 7-3 Bills lead. It's going the other way. Denver takes over. Let's reset you to talk about football.
Football. All right. So one of the things that I think that's an underrated factor in the coaching decision is one for Saleh versus Flores, for example. I think the scheme is very, very important for those coaches. We, in my opinion, can't afford to have a defensive-minded coach come in without a definitive scheme on how you'll want Kyle Hamilton to play. How do you get your pressures done? How do you play? Are you going to play 20 yards off the ball with your cornerbacks that coming out of college? All of our cornerbacks, they were man press corners. So when you see guys like Marlon and Nate Wiggins have some of the worst statistical ratings when it comes to cornerbacks, they were not in position based off the scheme to be successful. I know some ex-players and guys will say, like Terrell Suggs said, well, the coaches put you in position, you got to make the plays. I don't agree with that fully. There is some scheme things that you got to include. The other part is that I think that no one's really talking about is how do you recruit people to your organization when it comes to drafting. I think the draft factor with Harbaugh was one in which that everybody said it. Harbaugh loved choir boys, right? He didn't really want the badass. We recently saw him get a guy that was questionable with Mike Green. But if you really look at the EDC window of drafting with the Harbaugh mindset, we didn't get dogs. Harbaugh did not want alphas. Harbaugh was, he wants you to be, if he could carbon copy everyone on the team to be Kyle Hamilton, who's a dog, but he's still like, oh yeah, I'm just here for my coach and I'm just hanging out. You know, if he can get those kind of guys, Harbaugh would have had an entire team full of Kyle Hamilton mentally, not mentally because you get that the aspect of how he plays and how he thinks. He's not going to challenge you. I think a guy like Brian Flores will bring the bad ass energy back when you got guys like Terrell Suggs. Oh my God, you talk to Jimmy Smith all the time. When Jimmy Smith came out of Colorado State, he was the shit. You feel me? He was a man, 6'2", man press corner, didn't give a fuck. He would follow every star wide receiver. Unfortunately, Jimmy had some injuries, but Jimmy Smith was that dude. You feel me? He was a dog. You don't get guys like Ray Lewis. You don't get guys like Ed Reed. You don't get guys like Terrell Suggs, Bart Scott. You don't bring these guys in if the coach doesn't have the same mindset like we want bad asses, Adelius Thomas. So I think Brian Flores has the potential to meld the mind with Eric DaCosta. And if Eric DaCosta and Brian Flores can talk drafting and player development, I think that can win over DaCosta. And I think we can go back to the age of where we brought in some bad ass dudes here on both sides of the ball.
Good stuff, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
Appreciate you. Dre Dog always ripping it and always on the move. Look, I do think that that's taken on a little bit of a life of its own, the choir boy thing. I'm not sure I'm with that. Was John resistant at times, and was John, hard to adapt at times, but did he ultimately successfully adapt? Yes. In the end, was he as relatable as he maybe could have been with some of his younger personnel? Maybe not. There's certainly some rumblings about that, but I can't quite get behind that. Now, does that mean that this year's team was physical enough for a Ravens football team? No, but I don't know if there's a correlation between that and choir boys that they were looking for, or that John Harbaugh wanted. Bo Nix on the move, flushed out to the right, going to take it and run himself. Picks up a yard or two. 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. 7-3 Buffalo over Denver early on in this one. EB, bring us home, brother. EB, bring us home, baby. Bring us home. 90 seconds on the clock for EB.
Yeah.
Jesus. What the hell is going on here?
Oh, am I up? I'm sorry. Is it my? I'm sorry. Yeah. Is it my turn? My bad. I'm sorry. I'm absolutely sorry. I'm sorry, Bobby. I am sorry. The chat. I'm on the clock. You already know how this is, Bobby. But anywho, shout out to Dre. Shout out to Dre. Appreciate the Brian Flores talk. Bobby, I definitely appreciate the information that you brought about Brian Flores. I'm glad you brought that on. And anybody who's keep talking they shit to Bobby for whatever reason, if you ain't gonna come on this line and talk your shit, shut the fuck up and go about your business. Now back to the football talk. I'm still on Brian Flores, Bobby. Like my top 3 candidates is definitely gonna stay as Brian Flores, Kubiak, and Saleh. Now I've backed off on Saleh, and I definitely get what you're saying and what everybody else is saying about Brian, and I ain't gonna get too much into that, but we gonna see. Okay. This second round of interviews, we're definitely gonna find out. I'm gonna just leave it at that for Mr. Flores, and I'm just excited.
Appreciate you as always, EB. Look at you on the move as always on a Saturday. My man is always putting in hours. Good stuff. And a great 90-minute show on a Saturday as Denver is on the move, trying to take the lead early on here in the second quarter in the divisional round playoffs, the first of 4 games. And I'm going to go watch them with you guys. Enjoy it. Have a blast. Hate watch it if you must. And if you could on the way out, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. Thanks to FanDuel. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group. Go join the Discord if you haven't already done so. We're coming up on 1,200 members. There has been chatter cooking in there all day long. Member number 1,176. So come on in. Denver cashing in. Broncos take the lead. A little dump off from Bo Nix. So go ahead, if you could. Here it is right here. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. I just updated the pinned comment in the live chat. If you don't see that, I'll throw it in here right now. Free Discord access. All things Baltimore sports chatter. Really sports chatter across the board. And some live chatter right now about people that are watching this game as we speak. Few different candidates all throughout the weekend you're going to get a chance to look at closely from a Ravens perspective. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I will go live again tomorrow so that we can probably most importantly talk about what happened in tonight's game, given that there are candidates on both sides of the ball that the Ravens are looking at. Kubiak on the Seattle side, Saleh on the San Francisco side, and, of course, Joe Brady for the Bills today, and a couple under Sean Payton in Denver. All right? Enjoy it, guys. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for everybody who called in as well. Always appreciate it. Always enjoy it.